Final Fantasy XIII, oh Final Fantasy XIII. How I will fight for you until my dying breath. Hey, everyone, if you found this video, I'm very sorry because this is my first one and it's about me rambling on about a video game I love. No, really. I love this game. I love this game. It is literally my favorite game of all time. And instead of just having a 10-minute video of me screaming about Lightning's thighs and Hope's smile, I thought I'd go through each element of the game point by point to talk about the pros and cons of it. But why, I hear you ask? Why talk about an 11-year-old game that had a bit of a poor reception? 1, because I can. 2, because why not? And 3, with quarantine going on, who has better things to do? Oh, and obviously, spoilers, but I would hope you played this game or at least know about it enough to watch this, because it is, I repeat, 11 years old. Also, side note, I will only be talking about 13, not 13-2 or Lightning Returns. Those are cans of worms that will need their own videos having me cry and dissect them. So, let's just fucking go! Memes and all! Starting off here with gameplay, which from what I've gathered was looked upon with a bit of bitterness. I'm sure when trailers and shit had came out showing off the cool graphics and pretty people, everyone was not expecting a slow methodical RPG. But that's what it is. A slower methodical RPG, and one that didn't have the greatest start. Not going to lie, the hanging edge is the only reason that I hesitate with replaying this game, and I'm on my 3rd playthrough, okay? Many more if you count the times I started over, but the point is, the hanging edge and the vestige are slow. The gameplay isn't as thorough or engaging, and there are so many enemies everywhere, but it doesn't even add to your Crystarium. It takes so long to get to the true start in Lake Brescia. I get why, story-wise, you gotta set up everyone in their stakes in the matter of the purge, but still. But, yeah, gameplay. How exactly do you play this game? Well, you run around with the leading character until you run into one of the many enemies in the overworld. If you catch an enemy off guard, you get a preemptive strike, which allows you to get a chance to stagger an enemy. In combat, the premise is that you use magic and attacks to fill up a bar to eventually stagger the enemy and make them weak to all attacks and basically lets you wail on them. But attacking. How the hell do you do that? Well, you have a gauge called the ATB gauge, where either the game can choose actions for your character to do, or you can choose actions to do as you see fit. There are EXP, accessories, stats, blah blah blah, usual RPG stuff. There are many points that people don't like about it. How it isn't very action-based, and that the game can choose actions for you, leaving you to just mash A or X until they move, which is true to a degree. But often enough, the attacks that the game thinks you should do tend to be the fucking wrong thing! But I think the true meat of the game is the strategy aspect. The paradigm system. You see, when the cast becomes l'Cie, they unlock roles: Commando, Ravager, Medic, Saboteur, Synthetist, and Sentinel, all with their own uses and differences. Commandos do physical damage, Ravagers do magical damage and fill the stagger gauge faster, Medics heal, Sentinels defend, so on and so forth. Different characters have access to different roles up until Disc 3, where any character can do anything. And it's actually really fun to try different strategies for different events of battle, even more so to see how different people set up their paradigms. I guess it's just me that finds stuff like that engaging, but I earnestly feel a rush from just barely surviving a large attack, switching to a defensive paradigm, healing up and switching back just in time to keep doing damage so the stagger bar doesn't empty. It's slower, but has its moments of pure panic, and paradigms can make or break how easy your run is. But you still can choose what strategy to use, and when you get access to all characters having all roles, you can literally make a 14-year-old dodge a god's attacks and provoke him, and I love it! I mean, again, this option doesn't become available until the final disc, which takes many hours to get there. And by then, you're used to characters with certain roles. But it's your choice if you want to add roles or not. On my first playthrough, I stayed with the original roles. One playthrough, everyone was normal, but Fang had every role available. And in my current playthrough, I gave everyone one extra role. It adds replay value to it. But you just have to slog through 2 discs worth of game, which I can understand turns people off from it, which brings me to my next point. Oh, the linearity. Now, yes, I know the jokes. It's a pretty hallway simulator, ha 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 ha. But I guess it's my preference. But I think it's fine this way. It really adds contrast between Cocoon and Pulse to me. Pulse is wide plains that you can find yourself getting lost in, filled with wild monsters living their lives hunting and eating. And Cocoon is thin pathways and floating platforms, artificially moving and futuristic. Yes, I get it. You can't run around and do random shit until Disc 3. I get it. But I personally like it. I'm not much of an open world person anyway, and that is a subjective feeling. If you prefer an open world from the get-go, you'll dread playing hours upon hours of thin corridors with occasional wiggle room for an item or two. But for me, I like it. And I think that the environments and musics is what makes it all the more worth it. I mean, have you heard the music? Have you truly sat down and listened to this stuff? Beautiful. And I will not be able to listen to The Promise without crying. Putting these two together because they affect each other, the story of Final Fantasy XIII isn't the most amazing thing, and it doesn't have to be. It's a more interpersonal story, more focused on the characters and their bonds and their outlooks and feelings about the world around them. A ragtag group of people suddenly forced from their homes and made to be tools for demigods to serve as some weird greater purpose, given a task by said demigods, on a time limit unless they become walking zombies if they fail, or are turned to crystal if they succeed. That's the premise. Without all the special terminology, that's it. But let's be honest, I could make a whole another video going through every nook and cranny of the story, so let's talk about the part that matters to people. The characters. And we might as well start with the main one. Her face is on all of the bots arts. Lightning! Lightning Farron, or our soldier beauty, who kicks ass and takes names while being emotionally stunted at the same time. I know people are sick of Lightning's face, and I cannot blame them because it's plastered in many places where it doesn't make sense. Oh, the clothing store ad was such a dark era. But some people say that Lightning has no character, which is wrong. It's just wrong. Alright, yes, she's not the most developed or anything, but Lightning's whole deal is her being Lightning. She made that facade to be strong since she became the sole caregiver for Sarah at such a young age, and in turn she began to push her own sister away accidentally. Her development is her learning to open herself up and learning that pushing herself away so deep into this facade is what put her in this shitty situation in the first place. And by caring for Hope, she learns to loosen back up. She has a personality that's just not always shown well, especially when 2 of the 3 games take it away. Snow! Now Snow is lost potential. I think I get what Square Enix was going for. The hero archetype, the big dude with a heart of gold that everyone relies on. So he works to constantly be that hero and not to let his own worries or insecurities show. And they show glimpses of that whenever he talks to the tier. I mean, Snow is the one of the group that keeps everyone constantly focused on some goal. Yeah, the goal is literally just save Coon, but damn it, it's something. He was the only one who came up with something to do. He's the only one I think that gets better with the next games. But at the end of the day, it's just a himbo, and we appreciate himbos here. Hope, my favorite and a blessed boy, and I will fight all of you who says otherwise. Most who I've discussed the characters with all say that they don't like Hope or find him annoying, which I can understand to a degree. I mean, his whole I want Snow dead thing can get a bit stale since you're with it for 2 whole discs, but boy is literally 14, and he's being forced to be sent to what he knows is literally hell, watches his mother die, suddenly becomes a pawn of a god, and what he knows is an inhumane monsters that want to destroy his world. Let's be honest, he is coping better than most of us would have, and some of us can't even cope with quarantine. Besides, when he gets past that, he gets so good. Boy goes from too scared to lift his head from a crumbling vestige to giving one-liners to God. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Saz. Consistently, I've only heard good things being said about Saz. He is, in my opinion, the best written character. His arc with Vanille was the most powerfully made one. A father who simply wants to do all he can to help and protect his son, dragged into being an enemy of his son. He's a funny guy and a painful one. A great balance. I just wish the Square Enix didn't ignore him in the sequels. Fang, who is the biggest waste of potential. Fang is literally the most important character. Yes, Lightning is the one they focus on, but Fang is Ragnarok. She is the most important one, but her character is wasted constantly on her focus on Vanille. I wish she got to learn more about what she was, what she did, that they built up Ragnarok more. I get it, Vanille is important to her, and that's great. Character relationships are great, solid, yay. I just wish that we got to understand Fang as an individual more, which makes her such a letdown in comparison to everyone else. But we love a woman. We love a woman. And then, Vanille. I saved Vanille for last because she's the only one I don't vibe with that well. She's the one that Square Enix more or less characterized so thoroughly, only to kind of just make her be not a good person. And that's fine. Vanille's flawed. She made bad decisions. Decisions that literally led to the whole cast and the entirety of Cocoon being compromised. So I guess in that case, she is well developed, and her arc over the course of the game with everyone ends and with her redemption. And it's cleanly done, I guess. With my knowledge of the prequel book, it makes me more hesitant to say she's a good character, and just my biases and my beliefs. She can be annoying, and the focus on her can be irritating, but it's done well, and it's fair, I guess. Nice to not only be focusing on lightning. So, as you can tell, I did not cover every single aspect of the game. Like side missions, Sarah, the data log. Hell, I could cover the prequel book if I really wanted to. Who knows? Maybe I'll jump back and revisit those things another day. I just wanted to talk about a game I love, even if I understand why people don't enjoy it like I do. And maybe all around, I didn't convince anyone to give the game a try. Maybe I at least had you look back and think if it was really all that bad. If you want to try the game, it's cheap for Xbox 360 and PS3. And if you just want to know the story, there are playthroughs online, and who knows, I may make a story recap sooner or later. It took me nearly a whole decade to beat this game. Not because it was hard or anything, but it was my first long-term journey that I took with characters I grew close to. A world that I wanted to understand. And whenever I got close to the end, I would start over to prolong the adventure. Now, I haven't 100%ed the game, and I'm on my third playthrough of it now. I'm still finding things to love and discover 11 years later. It makes me happy. And I think that alone explains enough why this game is so important to me. So I'll say it again. My favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy XIII. Fight me on it.